So good morning to all of you. So wonderful to see and to feel and to rest with all of you in grace, in holiness, in that fragrance that drifts from heaven and reminds us that we are home. This beautiful fragrance and bouquet that drifts from that single extension of holiness that we are, reminding us that it's time, the moment has come, it's right now, and we celebrate that now, right now. What else is there to do at this point? And we do that by joining, we do that by coming together and supporting one another in seeing the willingness to see what has always been true, what has always been right in front of us. So today, we have a very short lesson. Then I'm going to share something from our friend Joel Goldsmith, that Vicky sent me this morning. Thank you, Vicky. Hold on one second. Okay. So here we go. This is the lesson for today from that I am frequency, reminding us that we're never alone. I am like a blanket that covers you when you sleep. No matter how dark your dreams become, I am there to keep you warm. I am the haven that shelters you from rushing winds. Even as storms rage around you, I am your sure protection. Nothing can harm you as long as you feel me near. Nothing can harm you as long as you know that I am near, and I am always near. Nothing can touch you if you reach out to me, just as I am always reaching out to you. We share the same heart, and our love moves mountains. The light you feel blazing from me is really your own light, which you are finally able to own. Grace floods your consciousness and holds you steady during these times of tumult. For I am with you, and I will never let you go. I am with you. It does feel like a warm blanket that wraps around us when we hear something like this. Just reminds us how safe we are, that all of these illusions that seem to threaten us are just illusions, that the truth of who we really are is so safe, so holy, so blessed. So to be reminded of this every moment, that's grace. That's grace. And as I said, Vicky this morning sent me a beautiful excerpt from The Infinite Way by Joel Goldsmith. Our friend Rod sends this out, and it speaks of grace, so we had to share it. So this is from Joel. He says, prayer is a contemplation of God's love for his kingdom. What a great opening line. Prayer is a contemplation of God's love for God's kingdom. And guess what God's kingdom is? It's you. It's everywhere. It's all of this. It is a realization of God's presence filling all space, an awareness of peace, joy, and abundance, an awareness of all of that. An inner stillness and silence, a refraining from thought and desire. Prayer is beholding and witnessing God's grace. Once again, prayer, true prayer, is a beholding and a witnessing of God's grace. It is a realization of is. It is the holy contemplation of, and here we go, that thou art I. This is what prayer really is, all of this together as one. Thou art I am. Where I am, thou art. Where you are, I am. Son, thou art ever with me, and all that I have is thine. All of these things combine into a single experience. God's grace is my sufficiency in all things. God's love is enveloping me in this universe, just like the blanket we heard about. God's peace is already upon this world. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Wherever I am, the beloved is. And so prayer is a contemplation of is. God is, life is, love is, joy is. Prayer is an outflowing of gratitude that God has given us the heavens and the earth for our glory. Prayer is a heart full of gratitude for the still greater blessings in prayer yet to be revealed. Thou wilt show me the path of life. In thy presence is fullness of joy. At the right hand, there are pleasures forevermore. So, finally, within every individual, far, far within us, deeply hidden behind the mask of personal selfhood, there is part of the divine which is in and of God. Actually, it is the God, the self with a capital S, unfolding as individual spiritual being, also known as you. Unfolding as individual spiritual being. That's what you are. You are the is, the great and mighty is, not Oz, but is. You are the great and mighty isness of this universe because God is through you. Love is through and as you. If that's not something to rejoice about, to celebrate and to sing, I don't know what is. Not the intellectual realization, but when that sinks in and you realize, oh my gosh, this is really happening. This is really happening. It's true. And so we celebrate this isness today. Each one of us, enveloped within that blanket of grace, held strong through the storm, through whatever comes our may. We know God is, love is, as this is happening, as me, as all of us together, right here, right now. So Vicki, thank you for sending me that this morning. That really lit me on fire. And I'm going to turn it over to you and see if you want to take it to the next level.
Thank you, Jimmy. I'm glad you liked it. And Christina, it's so nice to have you back in the room. And I don't know what's the matter with my phone, but I have no video. Can you see me by any chance?
Yeah, we can see you.
Really? Oh, well, I can't see you or anything. So, but that's good. So anyway, I'm glad it's going at least out. So I had two things. I wanted to share one because a very dear friend of ours, Jimmy, you know Fran Sousa, Franny?
Yes.
So Franny is a longtime sister in Course in Miracles and being, sister and soul. And she's always had the gift of vision to be able to see. And just 2 days ago, she was here and she was reminding me of a vision that she had here, I think, in the living room during one of our gatherings. And she's had a gift to see Mother Mary. But this particular time, Mary was standing in the center of the room, and she said to her to give her all the seeming problems that we think we have. And what she did is wrapped them and the person with this beautiful pink blanket. And that's why I'm saying it, because that image of a blanket it's like it touches a chord in all of us of protection and being cared for. And then she told her to always do that, and that she would wrap her in that pink blanket. And it turns out she did that all the time. She was a worker, a social worker. So she would go into homes that she was visiting, and she would ask Mary in every case to wrap her blanket. And of course, what is that? A blanket of grace, which is God's love. But it came to me today to think about it, because here's the practical part. Yesterday, I made one of those big bloopers. And mothers, for a mother, your biggest blooper often could be with your child. So I did something that upset my son, Teddy. And I was devastated. Oh no, it's like that's it. That's hitting the wall of separation big time. Like, oh no, there's no redemption from that when you're invested in the outcome with your child. And I was like sick. And I made a mistake. And I apologized and all that. But then when I realized, and this is what I stayed with, this is how grace works. This is when really if we're here to remove the obstacles to love's presence, then whatever mistake I made, it's wonderful that I made it, because I still have belief apparently in it, because I'm attached to some outcome of how my son would respond to me. So I needed this healing. And this is the situation it came up in. And I didn't do anything about it because, first of all, I didn't know what to do. But to sit down and literally let myself be wrapped in Mary's pink blanket of grace and let it be resolved in me, not in my son even. Just please let me take the opportunity and the healing that's at hand and the correction, because it is by grace that we are released. It is by grace that whatever appears to be a problem on the outside is really that inner sense of separation on the inside. And grace dissolves the sense of separation and restores us back to the peace of unity, because that is what unity is. It is a state of peace. There's no conflict when we are unified in one identity of being, of our holiness. So anyway, I just wanted to mention that my son sent me this beautiful little note this morning, just out of the blue, and said, "Mom, you're my best," which is just a little saying we've said for years. And it didn't need a lot of words, and it didn't need any more explanation. And it was an example and a powerful one for me today to be delivered, literally delivered by grace, and not by all my understandings and trying to solve or fix or do any of that. So there's my practical example and witness, and our sister Franny's beautiful vision to share of Mary standing in our midst, the mother that is the symbol of our creation, of what we are, wrapping us in that blanket of grace, of love. And of course, I love that it was pink. Anyway, that's it, Jimmy. Thank you.
Thank you, Vicki. I'm glad that blanket analogy is hitting home. It certainly did with me. So, is Teddy with you today?
He is. He's in the other room. Let me ask him if he wants to say it.
No, he doesn't have to. If he's not there already.
He didn't think I could get in.
Oh,
Because
okay.
I didn't know if I was in, but
We'll
yes.
turn to Christina. Christina, good to see you, my dear. Would love to hear. I'm sure you have a lot to say about grace.
That's funny. Hi, everyone. It's so good to see you. So filled with love to be here with you today and just hear the sweet words of nectar. And that's what grace is in this experience. To just hear the word grace is like the sweetest nectar ever for me. And as I heard the sharings this morning. And by the way, Vicki, I just want to just acknowledge and hold your heart, because I just know how, as we continue to rest in grace and become an instrument of grace, I have found all the places of this outer world to be so easy. And I also see how grace uses my relationship with my son to burn any little ounce of anything that may be hidden in any crevice that I was unaware of. So it's such a blessing to be a mom and to have that gift. And also, it's a crucifixion. So bless you for allowing yourself to be crucified in that.
It happens with daughters too, by the way.
I'm sure. Our children take us to places nothing else can. So grace, I remember there was a moment where I was working with somebody, and for me, just to hear the word grace, just like, I just melt. And this woman was in her 80s, and she was sharing with me that her son, who was in her 50s, was very concerned because his daughter, which was her granddaughter, who's like 4, was being spoken to about grace in her school. And they were very concerned because, you know, the word grace is a Christian kind of a word. And it's like, just to hear the concern and the separation from grace was almost like a slap in my face. It was like, wow, you know, the interpretation of grace can be something so different. And that's really true for everything. And, you know, the more that we rest in grace as grace, the less we interpret, the less we receive information and truth through the mind. And the more that we receive what comes to us as an open, receptive, spacious, not able to stick to any part of it, we actually receive it. We receive the truth of it. And I find it can be very difficult sometimes in expression, because what it is that's shared always has the highest intention, because grace speaks through us. But if it's received on the other end through the mind, it's the truth is lost through perception. So grace is that word for me, that when I have found myself in moments of perception, especially with my son, it helps me to release and fall back into that open, spacious, empty place where there is no Christina, there is no thought, there just is truth and love, beauty, and understanding, real understanding beyond conception. So the topic of grace, the topic of love, the topic of resting in that blanket, those everlasting arms that keep us, they keep us evolving Not only do they keep us safe, but they keep us open to continue receiving, which never ends. And so I humbly bow to grace as grace. That's what grace does to us. It removes all obstacles, removes all self-will, our little self. It burns us in the fire. Ah, grace. Nothing more needs to be said than that.
This is my little Grace.
No.
This is the only one I get to hug. Is Lily when she comes to visit me through the doggy door. We all need a puppy to hold. Thank you, Christina. That was beautiful. Very beautiful. And I see that Baraka raised his hand. Would you like to share something, Baraka?
I would. Thank you very much. Hey, Lily. Hi, Lily. Good to see you. Good to see everyone here. So, yesterday I ventured out, which is a very strange, weird thing for me. I almost am in an anchor hold here myself. So I went to Epcot,
Ah.
and because of the topic that we've been talking about last couple of days, I've been very tuned into the thought of the bouquet of grace, what it smells like. And of course, here I stay in this house a week, two at a time, and of course I go nose blind to what is here. I don't smell any. I don't smell anything here anymore. So I was looking forward to going out and being in a different environment and to see what the smells, what the odors would, the bouquet would trigger for me. But I went there with the thought of being reminded of what a smell, a scent is, but understanding that it is still a smell, a scent of this world. So I wanted to be reminded of what I could perceive as being the scent of grace out in the world. Now, at Epcot, they're currently running their food and wine festival. So they've got all the little booths all around the lake that serve all the different kinds of food. And of course, they always send the exhaust from the stoves or whatever they're baking in there out into the walkway around the lake. They're despicable. And so I was smelling all these smells, and then I was looking around, and there were a lot of people there. This is one of the last days that cast members will be allowed to go into the park for free. So a lot of cast members were there, and so they were all. It was all very Disney feeling, and the people were all Disney feeling as well. But we all had our masks on, and the mask was a filter not only for whatever we're expressing fear of out there, but it was also a filter for the scents coming in. And I wasn't going to let that happen. I was going every single moment I was looking at my brothers with their masks on and understanding that this fear that was being expressed by that had nothing to do with grace. I was completely safe and secure in the grace of the smell of the grace that I was experiencing with all these people all around me, all around the World Showcase. So I started thinking, like, now you can't take your mask off, otherwise people immediately, you start getting stares and people get upset and expressing fear from it. And there's people Disney folk coming up and reminding you to put your mask back on again. So I wanted to leave that alone. I wasn't going to tempt that, but I did want to go to a place where the mask on my face and on the face of everyone else and the smells that I was smelling were not expressions of fear or separation, but were actually a vision of grace itself. Everyone wearing a mask simply because we love each other.
Yes.
Not because we are fearing each other, but I wear my mask as an expression of love for my brother. I do not want to engender fear. So
Exactly.
therefore I wear the mask. And every food booth we're going by, we're these smells. Oh, what is that? Oh my goodness. Oh, smell that. And then we went by the Werther's caramel candy shop in Germany. And I was stunned into immobility. What is this place? I asked. What is this? And it's the gal came out. She was so proud of the fact that she could tell me what this was, and there was such love, not for the candy, but for what was being presented to us, and that I was so excited about what that smelled like. I could just see this glow around her, this amazing glow, and I fell back from the smell of the caramel to and realized that what I was smelling was an actual scent of grace because of the love that was being expressed. And by the way, I was at Epcot with Gina. You remember Gina?
Yes, of course. Yeah.
She was. Yeah, she's up here, so she was.
Nice.
And we had a dinner and had a really long talk about grace, and I was so filled with it I couldn't shut up. And all these other people, these other tables around the restaurant, they were all looking, and I could feel them all leaning in. And I wasn't trying to put on a show, but I wanted to be able to express to myself what this grace, this scent, this bouquet was. And I was filled with that myself for having had the opportunity to do that. Thank you.
Oh, God bless you, Baraka.